My name is Dr. Janet Couloute. I'm an independent art historian and founder of African Heritage Tours at Tate Britain, something I'm actually very, very proud of, and hope I act as a role model for other individuals who are interested in art history and making those very, very significant differences that are important. I also try and get individuals to take a close look at images where the black figure is absent and where colonial and racial beliefs are nevertheless conveyed. This image is known as the Chumley Ladies. We don't know who the artist is. What's more important about this image is to consider how white they are. When we often talk about images of colonialism and histories of slavery, we often forget that you don't have to have a black or brown image in a piece of art for it to be about colonial histories. So here we have two aristocratic women, incredibly white in terms of their skin colour, and that skin colour has been made white by virtue of the fact that the makeup has been brought with ingredients from abroad, things like crushed pearls, bitumen, cochineal, ebony, ivory. And of course that then enables us to consider how ideas of colonialism, ideals of this country's history can be presented in an image where there aren't black people in it. Conducting African Heritage Tours is a radical and importantly powerful thing to do. I believe my work can act as a catalyst for change in people's attitudes and behaviours in life.
My name is Tamsin and I'm a specialist in modern British art at Sotheby's Auction House in London. I studied history of art at Cambridge before doing an MA in curating at the Courtauld, which definitely informs my everyday practice here at Sotheby's. My role as a specialist really varies from day to day, and no day is the same as the other. So in the morning, we usually do a valuation call, so that's providing sale estimates for different artworks belonging to different clients. And this can be to go into auction or for insurance purposes. Then I usually go to the basement, which means cataloguing works of all kinds of varieties, so paintings, sculpture, works on paper, ceramics, all from the bracket of 20th century modern British art. It's incredibly exciting because you get to see lots of different artworks very up close and inspect them for whether they're in good condition or bad condition, which really affects the value of the piece. Behind me is an artist called Elizabeth Frank that we sell quite a lot in modern British art. She's one of the leading sculptors in the 20th century, and what makes her unique is that she was a woman working amongst many men in that time. Working in an auction house, there's all different kinds of art departments on view at different times of the year. So it's always great to use my art history, where we studied from ancient Greek, Roman, all the way to contemporary art, to understand and know what kind of art is on view at this time.
My name's Eleanor. I'm an art consultant at Art in Offices, but before that I studied history of art at the University of York. In my job I work with corporate clients who are looking for artworks for their offices, and we help them find artworks which bring out their brand identity and make their workplaces more productive and creative places to work in. And I also do creative events for staff team building days, which is a great part of my job too. Art history is important to my job because it gives me the context to propose significant and meaningful artworks to clients. Understanding the stories behind the different artworks, a bit about the artist as well, means I'm able to choose artworks that align with my client's vision. The best part of my job is seeing the transformative effect the artwork has in the office places. Just seeing employers come into the office and the smiles that it puts on their faces, and seeing that it becomes a more productive and happy place to work in. I would say that someone who's very creative and a people person would be a great art consultant. It's all about networking and fostering connections with artists and clients as well. So if you like chatting to people and working with lots of different industries, then this job is definitely for you. I would say for anyone who's looking to become an art consultant, familiarise yourself with contemporary artists and also lots of different industries. So don't turn down any networking opportunities, because it's all about meeting lots of different people and understanding their needs.
My name is Noah Charney, and I'm a very odd example of someone who's made a career out of art history. I'm an American expat, but lived and worked in Europe for the past decade. I studied at the Curator Institute, Cambridge University, and then University of Ljubljana, and I've been living in Slovenia with my family since then, which includes a hairless dog called Hubert van Eyck. But that's not why I'm odd. I'm a professor specializing in art crime, so I combine art history with criminology. I write best-selling books, more than 20 to date. I'm a TV and radio presenter, appearing in programs for Discovery, Nat Geo, the BBC, and more. It's a mosaic of activities, all to do with introducing as many people as possible to art. My particular approach is through art-related mysteries, whether these deal with iconography, the study of symbols in art, or literal mysteries, as in analyzing a theft or a forgery case. The study of art crime was almost non-existent when I began, and I focused on that. In the academic world, hyper-specialization is rewarded. I recommend becoming the world's leading expert in something extremely specific, carving out a niche for yourself. I love the study of art history and want to help people who might not think about it or might be intimidated by it to feel that it's approachable and engaging. Whether the initial interest is from the art itself or the true crime angle, it's all good.
Hello, my name is Tabish. I'm an art critic, writer and speaker who believes in making art accessible to everyone. I write for Londonist, Fad, Artsy and multiple other publications. I'm also a trustee of the City and Guilds London Art School, the annual exhibition Discerning Eye and the artist collective Art Can, as well as being a critical friend of UP projects who believe in engaging with people by bringing contemporary art to public spaces. For me, art history is important because it helps me understand the art I'm looking at, because even contemporary art references the old masters and the art that came before it. So by me understanding what art history is, what it's about, it helps me explain the art that I'm seeing to my audience using a language that is accessible to everyone. And we look back at art history and it's not taught so much in schools and university as much as other subjects are. And I feel that means a lot of people feel that art isn't for them. I want see art, think, I want to go explore it, and then be inspired and become passionate about it.
I'm Giovanni Agostinelli. I am an independent art curator and art advisor, which means that I work with a broad range of people, ranging from collectors and artists and galleries to working art projects. I studied history of art at the University of Bologna, and then I finally got my master in curating cultures at SOAS, University of London. Having a background in art history allowed me to explore and have a deep knowledge about art, contemporary art, but also to know a bit more about beyond the trends, let's say. So instead of being following the trends of the contemporary market, maybe set new trends, so try to work with the interesting and engaging artists. Thanks to know art, you can know how the future will go. So that's a very important aspect. I've now 10 years experience in working in art galleries and art venues, which involves a lot of different aspects, from organizing exhibition, arranging the transportation of artworks, so working with artists in selection of artworks, writing statements, proposal for exhibitions and application for residency and grants, do art fairs or proposing an art exhibition.
I am Ferren Gipson. I'm an art historian and artist. And for me, that can look different on different days. Some days that might mean teaching, or it might be presenting audio or video, or it can mean writing. I write articles and books. I studied art history in school. I have a BA and an MA, and I'm nearly done with my PhD, all of them in art history. So I think across my work, I'm quite passionate about getting other people interested in art history as well. Just because art is all around us, it's quite fascinating. I think there's so many juicy stories in it. So a lot of my research touches touches on areas of art and popular culture, or art and everyday life. And that connects even to my own art practice with working with textiles, where textiles are something that we have all around us much of the time, wearing textiles, sitting on textiles. But it's interesting to think about them as art objects and as cultural objects. So that's also something that I think about quite a bit. And then in my academic research, I research kind of political imagery. I might do videos or audio that's talking about what a pop star is doing and how that might relate to art. So really my work is across a broad range of things, but with that kind of overall theme of how art connects to life. For anyone who's thinking about studying art history, maybe as a degree or going into that as a career area, I would say it's a great idea, of course. There's so many career paths that you can take with it, and so to remember to keep your mind open and to really focus in on your interests. You know, there's so many niches that you can go into with art history. You can take those skills, make things for yourself, share content you find online, write things and share, and then you can help pass on a passion for art history for others.
My name is Lacey West, and I'm the founder of Lacey West Art International, which is a recruitment company for the global art world based here in the UK. The clients that I work with appreciate when candidates have an art historical background because it means that they are familiar with the discourses surrounding the market, as well as the more niche areas of the art world that other degrees do not necessarily cover. My advice for a young person looking to get into a career in the art world would be to really know your strengths and weaknesses. If you don't like being client-facing but prefer writing and research, then perhaps it would be better to pursue cataloging, archiving, or research roles in galleries, museums, or auction houses. Finally, cultivate a genuine passion for art. Stay informed about industry trends and network with professionals to build relationships. Be open to continuous learning and embrace diverse experiences within the art world to broaden your expertise and skills. In addition, in our post-COVID world, roles in art and technology have increased in demand. These roles include online sales and archiving, online art platform developers, and digital marketing. Of course, these are just a few of the roles that you can find in the art world, but each role plays a crucial part in its complex ecosystem.
My name is Katherine and I studied history of art at the University of East Anglia. Now I'm a specialist art teacher at a primary school in Pimlico, London, and I teach at galleries like this one. Research was a massive part of my degree, and I do a lot of research now to help to diversify art curriculums at school, really focusing on bringing more women artists into the picture and also more artists from the global majority, because those areas are traditionally not well represented at primary school. I think it's really important for children to make a connection with artists that they can relate to, so from their own cultural background. Doing art is about children having a voice, a cultural voice and a creative voice, and being able to express that in any way that they want to. It's so important that we do that in schools. It's massively underfunded and not given enough time. There are art teachers all over the country really pushing for children to have that space and have that time. I feel really lucky to be doing a job that actually makes a difference to children's lives. Art lessons should be about encouraging a joy in making and creating. So it's not just about the finished piece, it's about this kind of joy that you get from just being in a creative space and being given the freedom in that creative space.
My name is Aliki. I'm an artist and an art historian. I studied art history at school and then went off to university to study fine arts. A number of years later, I returned to university to do an art history degree at the Courtauld Institute. The work I make, which is photographic, is informed by art history. Art history is also the way that I earn a living, by teaching. As a teacher, what I do is essentially teach people to look and to be critical viewers of images. I really love my job, and I think it's a very important one. The world is so filled with imagery. In fact, it's estimated that 1.7 trillion photographs will be taken in 2024. The only field in which you're taught visual analysis, in which you're really taught how images function, is art history. And that's really what I find so important about the job I do when I teach, helping people to really understand how human beings communicate with the use of images. The work I make as an artist is photographic. I'm interested in photography as an object, not just an image. And the premise of my work is to have an interest in showing the viewer the material nature of photographic images. The work is also informed by art history and is always in conversation with images of historical landscape. Art history is a subject I've always loved, and it's not just enabled me to earn a living, but it's also informed my practice and continues to do so. I can't imagine being the artist I am today without a knowledge of art history.
My name is Tasha Marks and I run a creative practice called AVM Curiosities. I work with mostly scent, sound and taste in museum settings. I did my art history degree and then I specialised in food history and I wrote my dissertation about jelly. From there I got into the sort of showmanship and spectacle of food and events and performance, and then I became interested in all the senses, so not only taste, but then smell and sound and touch and everything. I started doing some perfumery training and got very, very interested in smell. And now I would say 90% of my work is designing smells for exhibitions. So I use art history in my job all the time, not only because I'm not specific as a sort of scent interpreter, so I'm always looking at different areas of history from ancient Egypt to the pre-Raphaelites and beyond. The research methods that I learned at university were really important, how to engage with history and how to tell those stories. My job would suit anyone who is interested in storytelling. For me as well, I'm dyslexic, so although I loved history, I always struggled with writing, whereas I always express myself in slightly different ways, so people who are different sorts of learners. If you like learning through doing, if you like experiencing history through making, that's the sort of person who would really enjoy doing my job and also hopefully enjoys engaging with my work.
My name is Vanessa Zingale. I studied art history and archaeology at the University of Salzburg in Austria. Right now, I am an Associate Director of Commercial Operations at Artscapy. Artscapy is an end-to-end art investment account. We are a platform that works with collectors mainly. We want to give collectors at every stage of their collecting journey the best possible experience. What I am personally most excited about is working with very early stage collectors, people who perhaps haven't had a whole lot of experience in the art world before and very much need a little bit of hand-holding throughout this journey. Art history was particularly important in the early stages of my career. Eventually very much found my niche and became incredibly excited about bringing the traditional art world into the digital world and into tech particularly, and also think that that is very much the future in bringing the art world into the 21st century, speaking to new collectors, and I think that is where the future lies and what I'm particularly excited about.
My name is Christine Slobogan, and I am an assistant professor of health humanities and bioethics at the University of Rochester Medical Center, which is in New York State in America. I did my PhD in history of art here in the UK at Birkbeck, University of London. And then in between my PhD and the job that I currently hold in New York State, I was a postdoctoral fellow at Johns Hopkins University in the history of medicine. So health humanities, the field that I now work in, is a field in which people use the tools of the humanities. So everything from art history to literature to philosophy, they use those tools in order to understand medicine, the body, and health. So in classes such as medicine and art history or the history of the body, I explore with students the role of art and visual culture in the creation and dissemination of medical knowledge. And we look at how these images have created and sustained some of the expectations or stereotypes about what the normal or ideal body might look like. I believe that this type of art history is so important because it opens up the eyes of future or current medical professionals to how important visual literacy is and how understanding what you're looking at and why you're looking at it and the context of what you're looking at and the historical context of what you're looking at and how that can make you a better doctor, a better mentor, and a better person. And for any art history student or professional looking to get into the health humanities, I will say it is an incredibly welcoming interdisciplinary field, and it allows for such a multi-layered understanding of the human experience, and I've found studying that to be incredibly fulfilling so far in my career.
My name is Orgazit. I'm a client relationship manager at a financial services firm. I've been with the firm for just under a year. Before then, I was studying history at university, where I took lots of art history and architecture papers as part of my degree. And before then, I actually began my art history studies with Art History Link-Up in sixth form, where I took an A-level in art history and did an EPQ as well. So now I work mostly with insurance companies. We manage their wealth and their investments and also help them mitigate risks as part of their investments. It's very interesting because an art historian needs to take quite a few steps back when they're doing their work. They need to critically analyze a painting or a sculpture or a building, look at its line, its use of form, its materials, the context in which it was made, the context of the artist or architect's work as well. And in finance, it's not too different, that kind of critical, creative thinking that goes into being an art historian. So we look at an investment, we look at a portfolio. Why is the investment working this way? What does the client want? What are its restrictions, its limitations, and its objectives? If you're thinking of studying art history, go into it very open-minded. It's such a world of opportunities, of ideas. Evidently, it can lead to so many different careers. So don't go into it thinking that it's a very closed-minded or elitist or niche profession that you then end up having to take. It's something very different, and it's going to open up lots of beautiful doors for you.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Morrell. I'm Executive Commissioning Editor at Henny Publishing. I studied History of Art and Architecture at UEA after moving to Norwich from Newcastle upon Tyne, where I grew up. Art history wasn't taught at the state school I attended, but I gained an interest in it from visiting exhibitions in museums and from reading art books and magazines. I started in my current job about a year ago, after a decade working as an editor at Phaidon Press, and in both these roles, I've really been involved with developing new art books, really from the initial idea right through to the finished product, and it's a job I really love. I moved into publishing after a previous career as an exhibitions curator, working in various public galleries, though I initially started out in the marketing department at the Whitechapel Gallery, and that was a job I took to get a foot in the door, and this is a strategy I highly recommend. Get in, work hard, and be positive. All of the jobs I've done really stemmed from studying art history. Not only did I learn about art and artists, but also a lot about wider social histories and about museums and their functions, and a lot about critical theories, especially feminism and post-colonialism. What I learned overall is that art history isn't just about looking at pictures. It's about understanding our world, past and present, and seeing it through the eyes of visual thinkers. And I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing.
Hello, I'm Lindsay Dewar. I am currently the COO and Head of Analytics at Art Tactic, a data and research company. I studied History of Art at the University of Reading, and I did a Masters in Art Business at Sotheby's Institute. I run the Analytics and Research Department at Art Tactic, and the main part of what we do is looking at auction data and expert sentiment data to analyse trends in the art market. My role doesn't directly involve art history. However, having an art historical background really helps because it allows me to better understand the artists that we are researching. It helps me to know who's in the same generation, what kind of movements are we looking at, and how they interlink with one another. The thing I love most about my job is explaining different things to people. We're able to use our research to prove people's theories and also to show them something new and interesting that they haven't thought of. And it can be great to use data to find out different trends within the art world. I think my job matters because the art market is very opaque, and we hope that our data analysis can provide some transparency to help people better understand the market and the role they can play within it. My job would be really well suited to someone with an analytical mind, someone who has keen attention to detail and likes to look below the obvious. My advice would be find something you really love doing and that you're passionate about. You have to do this every day and it can really make a difference.
My name is Rodrigo Orrantia. I am an art historian and I work independently as a curator. But also I am part of the exhibitions department here at the Royal Institute of British Architects in London, where I oversee a program for different exhibition spaces that we have. Working in a heritage building like Portland Place, I find art history is all around me every day. My role involves understanding and encouraging the different artists and designers that I work with. I love that I get to work together with many different people, from makers, printers, prop builders, carpenters, sign makers. The kind of work that I do would suit someone who is very curious, someone who likes sharing things, telling stories, and connecting with other people. I think art can unite us as humans. It's a mirror to explore our own complicated histories, but also to showcase our incredible capacity to dream and to connect with our humanity, even in the bleakest of moments.
Hi, my name is Kenneth Perenada, but you can call me Ken. I'm the Curator of Art and Climate Change here at the Sainsbury Center, University of East Anglia. I went to the University of the Philippines and I studied art history and museum studies in 2009. My job involves several different things: curating exhibitions, artist studio visits, and talking to different climate scientists at the Tyndall Center for Climate Change Research. I use art history as a form to problem solve different types of things in my curatorial role as the climate change curator. How do you talk about the climate via paintings, via sculptures, but also via design, architecture, archaeology, galvanizing our public to be part of climate action makes me really excited about what I do.
My name is Lucia. I'm a Deputy Operations Manager here at UK Parliament. I studied art history in Spain, in Madrid, around the late 90s. My role here in Parliament is very much operational, so no 2 days are the same. So in democratic days, this is when the houses are sitting. My role is to support the business of the house. This is welcoming visitors who may want to lobby their MP, or they may want to go and see the debates in the public galleries, or they may go to committees or even in events. During commercial days, we open the Parliament to the general public. This is when the houses are not sitting. We run tours of the Palace. We also run tours of the Big Ben. My team and I have the opportunity to bring Parliament closer to visitors and make it a bit more relevant to them, especially for those who didn't think that Parliament was for them. I use my art history skills and knowledge when I speak to visitors about the building itself, the architecture, the amazing collection that Parliament has. I think people are not really aware of this amazing collection, so that's how I'm still able to use my knowledge and my skills of art history. I can bring that into my role.
My name is Amanda Bryan, and I'm the Director of Operations for the Michael Vernon Gallery in London. I've worked here for about 12 years now. I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada, where I did my Bachelor of Arts in Art History. Within my role as Director of Operations, it's primarily administrative. It's very much office-based. I am in charge of HR, invoicing, client relations, the financial elements of the business, working very closely with the CFO in New York, the accountants, implementing procedures, safety procedures, etc. I also deal with client relations post-sale, which are primarily shipping logistics, will the work fit in their house, kind of navigating things on the fly, which requires a lot of flexibility. I do the same role at art fairs. So the art fairs that I do primarily are in the UK, China, South Korea, and Europe. I use my art history degree every day, whether it be talking to visitors, colleagues, artists, whether it be me talking to the artists about what inspired them, or talking to a collector about how we place the artists that we present into the different art history canon. Sometimes work can be very fast-paced, and so somebody that would work here, I would think, would need to be adaptable, a good multitasker, passionate, motivated, and a self-starter. Also, hopefully, they love art.
My name is Richard Butchins and I'm a filmmaker and an artist. I've studied art history all my life as a kind of self-taught person, though recently I have just finished a PhD by practice in the aesthetics of disability at the University of Kent. My job as a documentary maker usually involves making films related to disability. Now it's a bit of a niche, to be honest, and it's not always taken or thought of as significant, even though there are 15 million disabled people in this country. It tends to be ignored for various reasons. People tend to view disability as a personal issue or a personal tragedy, rather than as a societal concern. Wrong. So my work as an artist addresses disability as well, but in a covert way. I use the traditions of vanitas and still life painting in order to express certain things about it, but I also just take really pretty pictures of flowers. I don't have a typical day. At the moment I'm involved in taking some traditional 16th century paintings and recreating them in a modern context. And I've also got some documentary projects that I'm developing with broadcasters. Those things take quite a long time to get made and to get transmitted. So my art practice is really important because it allows me to express what I want to say in my own way, without any kind of interference or help from external sources. So art history is really important to me as a kind of basis for setting up my work. And in this picture, I've taken a 1610 self-portrait by Clara Peters. I mean, it is contested, but it is her. And I've recreated it and I've modernised it. If you want to be an artist, you need to look at work and you need to analyse it. You need to understand how it's constructed and why. And that will aid you immensely in building any kind of an art practice or art career.
My name is Ashiana Pradhan. I studied History of Art at the University of Nottingham, graduated in 2014 now I think, which is ages ago, and I now work at JP Morgan Chase within Chase Bank as a UX writer. Looking back, choosing to study History of Art and something that I really loved was so influential to my career. What I do now involves a ton of research, digging into the finer details and pinpointing things to people that might not be startlingly obvious. I've learned that creativity, art, writing, and all the things that others may take for granted are actually treasures in the corporate world. In a world where we are massively threatened by the incoming of AI, I would say that the most successful campaigns, bits of writing, are the ones that are truly authentic to the human experience, and I think that is what I was doing when I was studying History of Art. I was trying to understand the human experience through those artists and their pieces of work, and I like to think that I'm trying to do the same with everything that I write. Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, I think that if you're truly passionate about something and you enjoy it, it's so worth doing for 3 years of your precious life. When you're young, you don't really know what's coming and you don't really know where life is going to take you, so why not do something that you love? That instinct to go with your gut and your passions will also carry you throughout your career as well.
My name is Taimur Atigetchi and I'm the founder and CEO of Papier, and I studied art history at Trinity College, Cambridge. My job is different every week. Some weeks it could be talking to suppliers, other weeks it would be working with our designers and artists, and other weeks it could be interviewing new people. So every week looks different. Papier.com is looking to redefine the stationery category. We offer personalized stationery products both online and now in retail stores across the UK, US and Australia. Papier is a very visual brand, and every day I'm looking at different products that we're about to launch, making decisions on how the website needs to look, and I feel that schooling in art history has given me some ability to be able to understand the visual world. That often means talking to artists and designers and having a degree of empathy around what they're doing and the art that they work with. Another way that I use art history a lot is in storytelling. And when you're building a new business or launching a business and raising investment and growing it, half of the work you're doing is telling a story. And what art history is very good at, and what I learned through art history, is the ability to tell a story in a very compelling way, and being able to do that across using visual media, as well as rooting it in history and with data as well. So art history actually can be a very useful discipline in a business context.
My name is Claire Mead and I studied art history at Oxford University. So I'm a freelance curator with a specific mission to promote queer visibility, and I work with different museums and heritage sites to consult around and produce different curatorial, educational and community engagement projects around inclusive histories. So this can take a wide range of forms. It can be curating exhibitions, facilitating workshops, or producing educational resources, but it can also be some kind of fun, kind of weird stuff like zine making, drag king performances, or sword fighting demonstrations. So I work across a very wide range of different collections, so not just fine art, but can be fashion, social history and arms and armour. And what art history has taught me is how to learn to be flexible, to adapt to a range of different research projects and really be able to diversify my centres of interest. My biggest advice is try everything. After my BA, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, so I ended up working across galleries, auction houses, museums, and that's how I decided what I really wanted to do, which is, working more within the museum sector. But I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't tried it out.
My name is Ben Street. I'm a freelance art historian, writer, educator and lecturer. I did my undergraduate degree at the University of Edinburgh in the late 1990s, and I'm currently completing a PhD at the University of East Anglia. My role is to help people understand and enjoy works of art. The ways I engage with members of the public is through writing books, teaching, giving lectures, curating exhibitions, organising talks and discussions, and through leading trips to sites of art historical interest. Art history is essential to every aspect of the work that I do. For me, art history names a certain approach to the world, with art objects, their makers and their contexts at the heart of that. I consider art history to be a dialogue across time and space, and my role is to make that dialogue happen. What I enjoy most about my job is the moment in which an encounter takes place between two individuals from maybe totally different countries, continents, time periods, but the meeting point for those two individuals is the artwork. So my job is to make that encounter happen.